I honestly can't think of what would you like to say? I'll let you start out. You got any thoughts?
Well, it's clear that we're in a position with our discussions where it's you trying to counter our evidence at this point, as opposed to us trying to prove the official story a lie to you. Because bottom line, we've provided the evidence. It exists. It's there. It's been proven. So, that's how you approached us to begin with, as a matter of countering what we present. And to be honest with you, I really can't think of a single thing you've provided for us, or anyone, that does that sufficiently. In fact, as far as I know, you've admitted that it's literally virtually impossible for all the sicko witnesses to be simultaneously mistaken as to what side of the station the plane flew. Is that still your position?
Probably, yeah. I stand by that.
Really? So what is your explanation?
Well, just there's different possibilities. I can't say for sure what's up. It's either they're right somehow, and all the other evidence has been fake, planted, manipulated, whatever, or they are not simultaneously wrong by accident.
Meaning?
Just meaning it would be somehow organized. I couldn't say how, but those are the two possibilities. I'm having a hard time with the first one. The second one seems to make a lot more sense to me.
Okay.
And again, it's possible that somehow they're just all somehow grossly mistaken on such a fundamental fact. It doesn't seem right to me, but I guess it's faintly possible.
Okay. So you pretty much think it's a slight possibility that they could be mistaken, and that it's actually most likely that all of these witnesses are in on a conspiracy to spread information that disproves the incorrect information, that disproves the official story.
I guess, yeah, that's a distinct possibility. Should be kept in mind, I suppose, at least.
Well, yeah, that's a rather wishy-washy answer, if you ask me. Should be kept in mind, I suppose, I believe. Well, I tell you, what we've presented here isn't wishy-washy. This is definitive. These people are absolute clear in what they saw, and they match each other independently. So it's not a matter of if this or that. It's either they're lying, as you put it, deliberately spreading disinformation, part of this massive conspiracy to spread disinformation, even though the operation was completely successful, or else, of course, we're right. Now, let me ask you this: since, of course, you just admitted that it should be kept in mind, and didn't seem very committed to the idea that these are deliberate lies, and you seem to make it be a faint possibility that they're all mistaken. How much of a possibility do you believe that they're actually correct?
Oh, jeez. I don't know how to put a number on it, dude. I'd say it's pretty slim. I guess, the thing is, I'll hand it to you guys, everything that you claim, has been proven is all possible. But, again, I'm a unbeliever that everything is possible.
Let me stop you there, because everything is not possible. There's only one truth. It's going to be either one or the other. So it can't be both. You can't be wishy-washy on it. There's got to be a specific truth here involved to what happened on that day.
Ultimately, what happened is only one exact thing. Exactly, yeah, I agree with that. But I'm saying, all things considered, if you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, theoretically, anything could happen. It's a matter of probabilities, and some things are so far off that they're not worth considering.
Well, we're not talking about an ambiguous, hypothetical non-scenario here, and generalized scenario in regards to everything that happens in the world. We're talking about very specific evidence in regards to a very specific event. So, there has to be a commitment here on evidence. As you consider yourself a part of a jury. That's how we like to put it. It's our civic duty to make decisions about evidence and whether or not it's true or valid evidence every day as citizens, as members of juries. Correct?
Well, this way. What you guys have is valid evidence, 100% proven that William Legacy and the others opened their mouths and said what they did. Beyond that, there are other interpretations. It seems you guys have thought of one interpretation, and and it's one that, given everything that they said and the way that it lines up, at least somewhat, is, it seems a valid, something to consider. But then when you look at that compared to all the other evidence, you should be going, wait a minute. That's an awful lot of fakery to have lined up all in real time,
Well, didn't have to be real time according to our hypothesis. You understand that, right?
Not real time, yeah. Light poles, were, day before, whatever, but it had to be kind of synchronized in time for the cameras to catch it all and make it look real. So, it had to be planned out pretty tightly, and they had to have people on the scene.
Well, there are no cameras, and really the destruction and the physical evidence that you're referring to is primarily inside the building. So, and there's nothing that caught any of that.
Not in real time, that's true. I guess it had to happen in real time, because I don't think there's anybody talking about stuff being blown up beforehand, and I don't think there's any major explosions the next couple of days.
As a matter of fact, it's funny that there are some people that are now doing that in direct contradiction to the evidence of CIT, in particular Terrell, a gentleman online. If you've seen some of his rantings and posts against us, he happens to be one of you bloggers who came out after the release of our data. Of course, he believes in a missile. But beyond that, he's also incorporated he believes in two violent events occurring at different periods, both outside of the building. One being a missile timed perfectly with a flyover jet, to what our eyewitnesses claim, and the other being an A3 Sky Warrior that came in and flew in later. Now, this is all to give legitimacy to Lloyd's account, which seems rather absurd. So, some people do actually postulate that there were more than one violent events outside of the building. But
it's a range of minutes, and there were secondary explosions. I think that's pretty well established as well. So, these are all things to be considered. And with Terrell, that's just funny stuff. The A3 Sky Warrior, there's no purpose for that at all, except to try to trick people, apparently with the wrong kind of plane, make sure you get some kind of engine parts in the building that can then be discovered to be the wrong ones, and I guess to punch out the punch-out hole. And you got to have a jet for that. I just have to throw that in. It's funny stuff. The guy's a clown.
Well, no, he's an absolute clown. And he's actually disinfo, as far as I'm concerned, put out there deliberately to counter our information and to demonize CIT.
Yeah, it gets back to motive. Would he just be doing it for a practical joke, for fun, for some kind of strategic purpose, for somebody else's benefit? Who knows? But, I got to ask something. There's at least one thing we can agree on here. Besides Terrell, and that's the no planes at the Pentagon. No planes at the World Trade Center stuff. I've seen you take that on, and I was curious, which do you think is more ridiculous, TV fakery or holograms?
I don't really I don't see a point in defining either way. Neither of them have much validity as far as I'm concerned, so I can't imagine that it matters which one is more ridiculous. Unknown technology certainly would be something that would be at the hands of the perpetrators. The problem is we can never know what that is or prove what it is. Now, I don't doubt that it was used. Some sort of exotic weaponry was used in some sort of way, shape, or form during the course of this operation in one of the places. I don't know where, and I don't need to postulate where, because we have proof without that. So to focus on it makes no sense to me. But yeah, both.
You do have proof of exotic weaponry somewhere, or wait, what was that?
Oh, no. As I said, we don't. We have proof of a deception without postulating or theorizing about exotic weaponry. It's not necessary to go there. So
So that's possible. I'll hand it that again, but again, anything's possible. So it doesn't mean much.
Well, exactly. So there's really no point in going there. Obviously, the whole point of CIT is to provide evidence, direct evidence, proving a deception, and we've done this on multiple fronts. That's the thing here. It's not just the North of the Sicko testimony. Let me ask you this, because this is another thing that a lot of people who get into this debate seem to question when they initially get into it, and that is the notion that the eyewitnesses at the Sicko station are correct in both accounts, and that the plane hit the building from that location. Do you see that?
Yeah. That's a cop-out position. That's a way of trying to say, I don't want to call these guys liars, and that's basically it. And they don't want to, admit that it does necessitate a flyover. No, I see you there. If it flew north, it could not correct south and hit the light poles or any of that.
Okay.
So there's no way.
So, right, it's irreconcilable with all the physical damage if the plane was in fact where it has been proven to be by the eyewitness, multiple corroborated eyewitness testimony.
Yeah, and they corroborate each other again on the north path. not necessarily on the model color. I mean, we got to be pretty certain it was an AA silver jet. Brooks was saying it was some kind of a white or off-white beige type of jet, and then there was like some different descriptions of the color scheme, and it kind of seems like maybe the white jet, is that kind of basically the one that you think they all saw?
At this point, yes, because of further evidence and corroboration. I mean, the two most corroborative factors that we've been able to obtain from talking with eyewitnesses direct and canvassing the neighborhoods are, number one, the north side, number two, the color of the plane being white. So the discrepancies from the Sika witnesses, now granted, I'll agree, these witnesses, the total amount of time that they would have seen the plane would have been, 2 seconds, probably less, at the very most. So the notion that they weren't exactly correct in the color, or that this is a particular detail that is hazy, makes perfect sense. I mean, we can't expect all eyewitnesses to be completely accurate on all points, and that's.
What about the blue lettering? Do you think it's got blue lettering on it?
I've got no reason to believe that that's specifically the case. No.
Okay. That's fine. That doesn't match AA, and that's what Brooks said is on there.
Well, actually, Brooks said it was United.
Yeah, exactly. United, I think, has blue letters. I has a giant blue U, anyway.
Yeah, but he didn't specifically describe that. What it seemed to me, and this is typical. I mean, we'll agree that eyewitness testimony is fallible for many reasons, and very. And typically it's not because they're deliberately lying, it's because they're simply inaccurately remembering or else deducing, which is typical of any eyewitnesses to fill in the gaps in their memory. So when asked a question, naturally Brooks feels it's his responsibility to give an answer, whether or not he knows the exact truth in that answer. So, that doesn't necessarily bring away or take away their credibility or deem it necessary to completely dismiss their account altogether. What it does, of course, is make it so it's necessary for us to scrutinize and corroborate the specific or most relevant details. And naturally, what we were going after here is where that plane flew. And that was the most important point here that was able to get corroborated by all the witnesses. So you've watched our presentation, Flight 77, the white plane?
No, not really. I scanned it to see what it was about, basically, and I haven't actually watched it yet. So I saw, you interview several people and drew some flight path stuff, figured out. That's about all I know. I was curious about that. Is that do you think that's the down the river white jet that come down the river and then loop around and fly over? Or is it the same jet, or are we talking like two jets here, or what's up with that?
No, yeah, absolutely. At this point in our investigation, we're in a position where we've established the flight path of the plane. I mean, there was a decoy plane. We've established that there are 3 planes in this saga that are being depicted in various manners. One of them, of course, being the decoy plane. It was meant to deceive people into believing it hit the building. The other being the C-130 that was called in to follow the jet, but never did so, yet was reported as doing so by some dubious witnesses, as well as the E-4B, which is the mysterious white plane that was seen flying over circling the area over the White House. Now, you really ought to check out the presentation, Flight 77, the white plane, because it's more than just these corroborating witnesses of the plane being white. It establishes the media deception in regards to blending the accounts of these other planes in the saga, particularly the E-4B, and how they literally placed planes circling the area as soon as 9:40. So 2 minutes after the event.
Yeah. Well, according to radar, it takes off later, and also, of course, the RAIDS data that's got to be altered, right? Because that doesn't match Steve O'Brien's account. It doesn't match. So it doesn't matter. It shows, the flyover jet, of course. Well, it disappears from radar. It doesn't prove it doesn't fly over, but it's on the south flight path anyway. So anyway, so now that's pretty much got to have been altered, right?
Well, there's no question. There's nothing to support it other than it. So, yeah, bottom line, it's been proven to be fraudulent on many fronts, and that's what our next short's going to be about. Pretty much to establish the earlier path of the flyover jet as coming from the east side of the Potomac River, as well as to establish the fabricated testimony that we have coming from other eyewitnesses in regards to the behavior of the C-130, which is complete contradiction to what the C-130 pilot himself says, and even the C-130 pilot himself is a complete contradiction to the NTSB data. So they're putting themselves between a rock and a hard place. The more information they reveal, the more they expose the deception here, and hold themselves to their own words and their own story that they've been dancing around since the beginning. So yeah, it's clear that data is fraudulent.
Oh, it's got to be a pretty exciting time. Sounds like they made a lot of mistakes, and you guys get to be there to kind of clean up the mess, as it were.
Well, yeah, at least try to untangle the web that they've woven, this web of deception, and that's what it's done. They've done it through confusion. They've done it through blending the accounts of these other planes with the actual plane, and they've done it with fake, fabricated eyewitness accounts and planted testimony. So there's no question that all these factors are involved here. But back to the sicko testimony. I mean, really, it does come down to the fact that at this point, your only reconciliation in order to be able to continue to support the 757 impact hypothesis is that all the witnesses we present are in on the plot and literally fabricating their stories as disinformation.
Yeah, that sounds kind of silly, huh?
Yeah. Quite.
Well, the converse side, of course, is to stop believing in the 757 impact hypothesis. I have to believe all those plane parts were planted in the building. The 50 columns were destroyed with bombs. They were blown up and out, even though there's no blown up columns all over the lawn. I have to believe half of all these other witnesses were either lying or totally tricked from every angle by sound and sight clues into believing.
Wait a minute. All these other witnesses, who? What witnesses are lying that you're talking about, or need to be in order to discount the North of Sicko?
They're all lying in the sense that they were tricked into lying by saying the plane hit the building. I mean, there's not a single person that said it did anything other than that. It was close enough to see one way or the other.
Tricked into lying? I don't understand what you mean by that.
They were tricked into saying something that, if they say, I saw it hit the building, and you're saying it didn't, and you're saying that they were tricked. So basically what they're doing is they're being tricked into saying something that's not true and perpetuating the government lie just by using what they saw with their own eyes. They were tricked. And are uniformly tricked across the board.
So they're not lying. You're suggesting they could have been deceived.
Well, yeah, that's what you guys have been suggesting. The fireball thing, where they can't see. They think it impacts because they see it flying in and they see the fireball.
Well, that's a nice, simplified way of talking about the hypothesis. But however, it's simply not the case in the sense that what we maintain is that out of the static words published by the mainstream media. I mean, this is not eyewitness testimony, okay? That's really what it is. We need to talk about it for what it is, which are static printed words by mainstream media. So until you speak with these witnesses direct and get their firsthand confirmation of these details, these words are merely hearsay. They're not evidence at all, okay? So that's the fact. Now, that notwithstanding, very few of these reports, even these static words, are specifically saying that they saw the jet enter the building. And we're not trying to claim that all these people were deceived even though they claim they saw the plane enter the building. What we're specifically stating here is that these people aren't even making that claim, and most of them were not in a position to see the impact side of the Pentagon or even the Pentagon at all.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the ones that were.
And who are they?
People right there on Route 27, they said, flew over my head and they crashed into the building. I mean, I don't have all the quotes in front of me, but, they might not have used, a certain word or phrase or whatever, but I mean...
Well, that's another thing, too. So you're contending that the witnesses on Route 27 all would have been able to see the plane enter the building?
If they were looking in the right direction and they were parked close enough, I don't see any obstruction of view that I can think of.
Well, again, I guess you're not paying attention to the evidence that we're presenting.
Yeah,
the trees absolutely obstruct the path and the view.
Well, it depends on where you're parked. I mean, there's no grove of trees that blocks the view of everybody on 27. It's a long road,
Well, actually, you're incorrect about that as well. It's a quite short road, less than a mile long. But that notwithstanding, the area that we're talking about that would be behind the flight path, be in a position where they would be able to see the plane as it passed in front of them, as opposed to having the plane and the flight path being behind them, is less than a quarter-mile stretch. You didn't know that?
Yeah. Again, there's going to be some people at different spots even further back that will probably be able to see it.
Wait. Where's that? Probably be able to see it?
I don't know. Never mind. I'm not getting into it. I don't know. I don't have it all mapped out here.
So you're incorrect, because you absolutely are incorrect. When you're before the overpass on Route 27, you cannot see the impact side of the Pentagon or the Pentagon at all. All right?
Okay, you're driving at some specific witnesses here. That's Mike Walter, right, and maybe a couple others. And, I can see that, for whatever reason, if it's quite, I haven't looked at all the exact science, whether you could see maybe between the trees or anything like that. But, okay, whatever. Maybe they embellished their accounts for whatever reason.
Okay, well, there you go. So this is very important. There is no whatever. I mean, the fact is, you need to plot their POVs in order to determine what they would be able to see if you're going to cite them as legitimate witnesses who claim they saw the impact.
I've let that one go. I don't even really as much because, the fallibility, the fact that even if they saw and remembered correctly, you got language issues as to how they explain it, the adjectives they use, and things like that. And it's just all a little bit too vague, So most of my evidence has just been looking at, the building was damaged consistent with what a 757 would do. There's all the plane parts inside. There's a missing plane. There's a radar track. There's flight data recorder that says it went that way.
Okay, wait a minute. So, all right, first off, let's back up for a second before we get into the physical evidence. So you're admitting that there's no definitive eyewitness testimony that is sufficient evidence to convince you of a 757 impact?
No, it's all supporting evidence. I don't take it as crime evidence.
Although you're not able to cite any specific account that you believe to be legitimate supporting evidence.
No, I just said I don't go around making that argument. I don't go around looking into that stuff a lot.
Okay.
You have that challenge where you challenge me. That's about the only time I really look closely at eyewitness accounts.
Got it. Okay, so we've established now then that you're not citing eyewitness testimony as valid evidence in support of the 757 impact.
It's fine, valid evidence. I just don't use it myself a lot.
How is it valid evidence, and what is valid evidence?
What is valid evidence?
Yeah, in the eyewitness testimony. That's what I'm asking you. If you're going to say that it is valid, you need to cite it and tell me how and why.
Okay, you can't prove it. It's what somebody says. Is it what they really saw? Are they describing it accurately to how they saw it, or embellishing it with something that they learned after the fact, or what?
So now you're arguing that it's not valid, once again.
Not completely. You got to take it with a grain of salt. It's not valid or invalid. There's no such thing as valid or invalid evidence. Just it is what it is, and you look at it for what it is, and you try to figure out where it might be accurate and where it's not, and whatever.
Well, actually, that's not true, Adam. There is such a thing as valid and invalid evidence, and that's very much how it works in a court of law. And in fact, eyewitness testimony is valid evidence when it's firsthand testimony. You understand that?
Yeah. It's evidence that they said what they said. It doesn't mean that they saw it for sure. You can't have a brain probe to check their actual memory banks and see what they actually saw. All you know is what they're saying.
Right, which is why the importance of corroboration comes into play. Really, all I'm trying to do here is establish that you really don't cite any. You're not trying to argue that any of the eyewitness testimony is in support of a 757 impact. You're not able to argue that.
No, I am not right at the moment. I could dig into the files and find who it was that said it impacted. I saw it.
Adam, we're having a debate discussion here. We're having a debate discussion here. So if you don't have the notes in front of you to reference, then the answer is no. You can't cite any of this as valid impact or valid.
No. I can't do everything at every time. I can do it later if you want.
Well, no, the debate discussion's happening right now. So the answer is no. You have no evidence, testimony evidence. All right.
Yeah, sure.
That you can cite. So moving on, we can certainly move over. Okay, but now that we've established too, you were also incorrect as far as the length of the road. You called it long, and as well as the positioning upon which someone would be able to see the official flight path and the plane enter the building. There's actually less than a quarter-mile stretch, and once you get in front of the trees, it becomes a minuscule amount of space until you're in front of the actual flight path. It would not be able to see the plane approach at all. Do you understand that?
I think so, yeah. There wouldn't be that room for that many people there. I'm not sure what the significance of that is, but what?
Well, it's quite significant because you've got a lot of witness accounts in various areas claiming that, or being cited as testimony that they support a plane hitting the building when they could not have possibly seen such a thing.
I think your Mike Walter case, you got a strong case there. Like I said, I haven't totally verified that that's absolutely true, but I think it's Yeah, it seems to me, and especially when you're talking about wings folding forward or whatever. I mean, you wouldn't see that even if you were up close, probably. And it just seems like he's trying to reconcile something with something for whatever reason.
Right.
It doesn't line up.
Okay, right.
But, yeah,
right,
that's that one. That's his own thing. I mean, again, if this was hypothetically, if this was a disinfo thing, I would suspect him as being a person who's trying to make it more confusing and provide inconsistent testimony to make people go, what the hell's going on?
Really? So you don't think he was trying to support the official story with his claims? You think he was trying to cast doubt on it?
Well, yeah, but in a way, by trying to support the official story in a way that most people would buy, the people who look closely at the evidence would see that there's something wrong with it, and those are the people that are already suspicious, and they'll be made more suspicious. Theoretically, could be possible.
Okay.
But, it sounds wishy-washy, huh?
Yeah, sure does.
Yeah, well...
All right, well, moving on, assuming, of course, that the way you reconcile the north of the CITGO data is true, and that all of the witnesses at the CITGO station are part of this disinformation campaign, perhaps working with Mike Walter, in a sense that they're part of the operation to put out deliberately bad information to confuse people. Since that's your working hypothesis and what you currently believe, then naturally you also believe that the plane came in low and level, hit the light poles, and entered the building as reported without hitting the ground.
Yeah, quite a feat actually, but apparently that's what happened. I've heard people say it's impossible, but I haven't seen anybody be able to prove that, and it just looks like that's what happened, however unlikely it might seem.
Okay. Then how do you reconcile the descent angle depicted in the FDR?
Oh, that was what it was doing when it was up at the top of the hill back by the Sheraton Hotel, as far as I can tell. The geographic coordinates, north-south coordinates recorded in the L3 file and readout 2 show it, like I don't know if it's a mile or 2 miles or something, but way back there. So what it was doing for altitude, pitch, roll, the wing roll angle was all irrelevant to what it was doing, 6 seconds later when it hit.
Well, that's pretty difficult, though, situation for you to state, because the descent and the topography, Adam, starts after the Navy Annex, not before the Sheraton. So any...
Yeah, it's big. It's not that big compared to a plane. I've mapped it out, and if it's... my shadow placement puts it about 115 feet above the shadow at that point, and that right there is pretty high. It had to have a fairly steep angle, but it would have, at that angle, it could have come down the hill at whole angle, and it all fits somewhat, at least, with previous numbers. So, it's a slope, but compared to a big-ass plane, that deals with hundreds of feet all the time going up and down, it's built to, I think it can do that. Not that I'm an expert.
Well, let me ask you, since you've had this all mapped out, as you say, how much time is there after the plane reaches the quick descent in the topography after the Navy Annex before it reaches the building?
Let's see, from the shadow location, which is just basically due south of the CITGO station, according to the shadow in the video again, which, it might just well be inserted, it had about 2 seconds from that point. So from the Navy Annex, I guess it was maybe like 3 to 4 in that range. So
clearly then, since the descent in the topography is directly before your alleged 2 dots in the video, then naturally the descent angle had to be in effect at that moment.
Yeah, it was probably descending at that moment. I figured that to go from that, 115 feet, I figured that might be a bit high. I might have placed the shadow, 10, 15 feet wrong or something like that. And so, it might be a little lower than 115 feet. That's like a pitch of minus 8.5 degrees and then a little bit shallower in order to hit the light poles from there. So it would probably, be somewhere in that range, like 7 or 8 or something. And it probably was at that pitch coming down the hill.
Okay, so and that descent angle that is depicted in the FDR that you believe and have just stated that it would be have to show to hit the light poles and line up with physical damage, and then you're suggesting there's within those 2 seconds that the plane has to reach the building. You're telling me that it managed to completely level out before it reached this. Is this like directly before it reached the security video at the Pentagon?
It pretty much would have had to. I don't think it has to be perfectly level. I mean, that video I don't think is clear enough to show whether it's at a 0 pitch or a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 degrees.
Really? You can't see the smoke plume?
The smoke plume is the plane, dude. It's, you know, that's something that you can't change my mind on, probably.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. What did you say? The smoke plume is the plane?
The white stuff that people see, they say is a smoke plume. The black stuff is all background. There's no black plane there shooting out white smoke that then instantly turns gray in the next frame. I don't get how everybody in the world keeps saying that.
So you're denying there's a smoke plume at all visible in that security video?
There is, but only after the plane passes. It's gray. It's that gray dissipating smoke that you see for several frames afterwards. There's 2 white spots in the 2 different cameras before that's there and then gone. And it's supposed to be a silver plane with sunlight shining down on it. I think it would come out white.
Well, so what about the squiggly plume that's depicted in one frame?
Is it bright white?
Yeah, bright white squiggly plume depicted in one frame of the leaked video.
Yeah, and then the plane is the black thing in front of it, right? That's hidden behind the security box.
That doesn't look like a plane to me.
Either way, whether it's the plane or the smoke plume, it appears effectively level. But, you know, again, 600 feet away, and you're only seeing it for the length of a plane. You know, I don't think a pitch of like 1 or 2 or 3 degrees would be really visible, you know, from that distance. It would look basically level, I think. But this is like science stuff. I don't know for sure.
Well, not to mention, you're talking about a plane, a 757, a massive jumbo jet, obviously handles like a pig. This is not a fighter jet traveling over 500 miles per hour. You're saying within 2 seconds it was able to completely level out.
Well, it would have to, basically, to be, well, I mean, again, we're going off of what the altitude was before, and, you know, the best number I have right now, since the FDR stops way early, is the shadow thing. If the shadow is true, it appears to be somewhere around 100 feet above ground. That's a bit high, gives it a bit of a steep pitch. It's a bit, the pitch change from second to second is more extreme than most of what's recorded in the FDR.
Also, at that point, that's too high to hit the light poles, Adam.
At 115 feet it is. That's why it pitches down. And I mapped it out to where it does that. I have that graphic that you probably saw in my piece where I did that. And I show the numbers, and the numbers are, you know, and again, if I might have placed it a bit too high, but the numbers come out just a bit more extreme than what's in the rest of the FDR. It seems like in the range of plausibility. It's not something crazy. It is extreme, but it's not crazy. Yeah, you know, and again, that's what would have to have happened. If it was in the air, you know, at some point above the ground, south of the Citgo, it would have had to drop to some other level and hit the light poles and effectively level out and hit the building. And that seems to be what happened.
Okay, so the further we get deep into this, the more it seems that you're citing things that had to have happened, is the way you're putting it, in order to fall into your theory, even though this falls on the face of the eyewitness testimony evidence that we've presented, proving that the plane wasn't anywhere near that location.
Yeah, it does. And again, that's why, you know, I have to go into, well, which thing is wrong? Am I going to discard, you know, all this, you know, to accept these witnesses, or am I going to say somehow all those witnesses were wrong?
Well,
in a way that lined up?
Well, you're not discarding all this. What you're doing here is it seems like you're stretching credulity to make it fit, because you think that's what it had to have done. And then this is the language that you're using while describing it, and that it seems, you know, unlikely and pretty extreme, even, you said, and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. However, it had to have done that, is what you're saying, even though the evidence proves it wasn't near there. But okay, neither here nor there. Let's start with the physical evidence with light pole number 1. Since, of course, assuming that with the descent angle of it being 115 feet just before the Citgo station, it was able to descend fast enough to hit light pole 1. Even still, while still descending, that you still find it acceptable to believe that this pole entered the windshield of Lloyd, the cab driver's cab, and that he ended sideways on the road. It caused the physical damage to the interior of his cab, including destroying the dash and knocking the seat off the hinge, without ripping the seat, and that he ended up sideways on the road with the bulk of the heavy end of that pole sticking out over the hood without scratching the hood of his car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far as that goes, I wouldn't necessarily expect a scratch. If it was flying in, it's kind of like the plane in the foundation. If it's above a surface and it's flying essentially horizontally, it's not going to damage that surface, So on the way in, it might not scratch the hood. On the way out, if they lifted carefully, it wouldn't. And the only other thing
wait. On the way in and the way out, that's not all there is. The car came to, according to the witness, the car came to a complete stop with the pole still sticking out of the hood.
Exactly. Now, and then the other thing I would expect in that case would be a dent. And it's true, I'm not seeing a dent. I don't know what kind of hood that is. If you can just pop a dent out and it doesn't leave a mark. I think that's the modern plastic hoods, right? That one would probably leave a visible dent. And it's true, there doesn't seem to be one. So, that's a story, again, where I would have to say, from what I've seen, it seems his account doesn't line up. And what that proves is that his account doesn't line up.
Well, not only that, I mean, the damage to the interior of his cab is only consistent with that of a large pole. It couldn't have been the small top piece of the arm that caused that type of damage to the inside of his cab, particularly with the hole in the windshield itself being a fat hole with multiple spiderweb patterns in the windshield. None of that is consistent to a small piece. It's clear that they try to fabricate a large piece going in.
Yeah, well, that's a weird case. Yeah, multiple fractures. That's something I've heard somebody mention, and that's something to think about. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, that wouldn't be a very good fakery job either, would it? I mean, if it was one light pole was supposed to go through, and they had to hit it a couple times to get it done right, and then, somebody's going to discover that and find there's multiple fractures. That's not explained. I mean, again, it's one of those things where, what the hell are they thinking? Faking all this stuff and faking it so stupid. I have a hard time with that.
Well, sure, but the notion to say that, it makes so little sense that it has to be true is even strains more credulity. That there's no real logic behind that. It's like, naturally, they're trying to pull off an operation of deception. They're trying to do it as quick as possible, knowing full well that the hysteria and the propaganda afterwards is really what's going to fuel the deception and the belief in their story, and that scrutiny of the small details isn't going to be an important factor for quite some time when it likely won't matter, and they've already achieved their goals, such as war in Iraq, permanent global war on terror, mental manipulation of the worldwide population. So all these things have been accomplished now that CIT finally came out there and focused on the light poles and focused on Lloyd and focused on all these details. Nobody else looked at the hood of the car before that.
Yeah, that's true, as far as I can tell.
So,
Go ahead.
I mean, that doesn't take away from the fact that these are still anomalies, and these are still physical impossibilities with the situation. These are anomalies in the physical damage that really support the notion that the plane flew on the north side of the Sitco 100%.
Now, that's where you got started, right? Because you didn't start out talking to any witnesses. They came out, you ran into them after you had already been pretty well convinced that, am I correct on this, that you were pretty well convinced by the anomalous physical evidence that there was no plane impact?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We conducted our investigation not believing in a plane impact. It went there looking to prove it. Looking to prove that a plane hit the building, to put our minds to rest. Really, or that there was a plane at all. We figured, heck, you go there, you knock on doors. If there was a plane, people are going to tell you they heard it or saw it. And
so you guys were even trying to believe that a plane impacted, and you still were not able to pull that off, huh?
Well, exactly. I mean, yes, that was pretty much it. Number one, like I said, the number one thing was to find out if people said they saw a plane at all, which they did. So immediately, we had to shift gears on our belief, according to the evidence that we obtained on our own. So, believing so much or just theorizing over the pictures and things of this nature and thinking, well, heck, was it a missile? Was it an A3 Skywarrior? Whatever. Once you go there and hear people tell you firsthand that they saw a plane, random people on the street that you can find, it becomes, there's no doubt that clearly, there's something else happening. So at that point, yeah, it was either this plane continued on over the building, or it hit, like they said. So that's when we decided that it was important to focus on where the plane flew. And
blank slate at first. There were witnesses who've been published who said they saw a plane. So, I mean, were you surprised to find that all the previously published witness accounts you'd read of a plane in the area were actually true? You went and got verification. That's great. That's something I haven't done. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that, you would have been okay to have accepted that testimony in the first place, that there was a plane there, because there was.
Absolutely.
Sure.
No, absolutely. And same with the Sitco witnesses. If any of them had told us that the plane was on the south side of the Sitco and came low and level and hit those light poles on the right side of the bridge, then we absolutely would have changed course in our hypothesis and what we believed, and we reported it as that, and it would have been simply the case. However, that wasn't what happened, obviously, and put us on the whole course. And really, that's the only reason we formed Citizen Investigations Team. We didn't exist. We were merely research consultants to Dylan Avery and Loose Change, and that was it. So the fact that this important evidence came to light is what made us realize it's important to dig deeper and to get as much confirmation as we can from all the eyewitnesses. And no matter where we go, Adam, I mean, it's confirmed over and over and over. Everyone we talk to directly now, nobody saw it on the south side. They all saw it on the north side. I mean, the one...
Yeah, because you have published probably every single interview you've done, and you've never run across anybody who indicated that it was on the south side, in any way. I mean, as far as seeing it clip light poles, as far as any kind of clue that says it was on that side, you haven't seen any of that in your interviews?
Absolutely not even close. And even some of the dubious testimony that specifically state the plane went into the building and that they saw it happen, such as Joel Sukerman and of course Mike Walter. Even these accounts, and Father Stephen McGraw, who's a very famous, well-known, cited eyewitness to. He mentions the light poles in his account, so he's specifically cited as a person who saw the light poles clip. None of these people saw the plane hit the poles. None of them are willing to admit that they saw the plane hit the poles. So even they will back off on this detail because naturally they just didn't see it happen.
Yeah, and I don't think you would. I mean, it's a fairly insignificant thing compared to a giant plane coming in and all that noise. I think if you're leaning up against a pole and suddenly you weren't leaning against it, I think you'd notice.
You're kidding. So, all right, obviously you haven't plotted Stephen McGraw's location. Then you realize he was right before the flight path, had probably the clearest view possible of the impact point, right in front of right before where the plane flew, right in front of light poles 3, 4, and 5.
So you think he probably should have seen them clipped if...
Well, absolutely should have. I mean, it would have been impossible to miss. He would have seen that much better, had a much clearer view of the plane hitting the poles than he would the plane hitting the building. There's no question there. So the notion that he didn't, in fact, he doesn't even mention poles 3, 4, and 5. He mentioned that there was, as far as he knew, there was just one pole that was knocked down and that it hit the cab driver. Now, that's another factor, too. You don't have any eyewitnesses reporting a pole hitting the cab, that they saw that happen. Now, granted, the plane would be a big diversion, but for anyone in the area who saw the poles or the light cab or the cab at all, it seems like it'd be quite a sight to see a cab sliding across the street sideways in the road with a big 40-foot pole sticking out of the windshield. Don't you agree?
Yeah. I mean, did they mention it after the fact? Did they mention it sticking out of the windshield? I haven't checked into that.
No. Nobody mentions seeing the pole in the cab. Nobody mentions seeing the pole being removed from the cab. And nobody mentions seeing the plane knock the pole into the cab. So none of those details relayed by Lloyd, the cab driver, are corroborated in any way.
Okay. Well, that's something. I don't know what to say to that. My mind's a blank. That sounds good. All right. Hey, I wanted to get to something, though, about this supporting the official story, trying to prove the suspect's innocence thing that I get accused of. I just wanted to clarify, this has nothing to do to me with innocence or guilt. It just has to do with, what happened. I mean, as far as I know, that if it was a 757 and it flew in and it hit the light poles and crashed into the building, it was under remote control. Or, at the very least, that they were purposefully scuttling the defense to stop it. So, again, this has nothing to do with innocence, except maybe that I'm trying to prove their innocence of the flyover hypothesis, that, maybe they're innocent of that.
Well, that's an easy position. Well, I hear you, and that's an easy position to take. However, from the standpoint that you're arguing, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because, number one, what you're postulating, other than the official story, are unprovable things. It's impossible to prove remote control into the building, correct?
No, I wouldn't say it's totally impossible, but I sure wouldn't hold my breath for it. I don't think anybody's going to, say, oh yeah, by the way, and in the wreckage we found this pod that's a, remote control device, something like that.
By the way, who would say that?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anybody's going to say that. I think if they found that, it would be top secret. So yeah, I don't think we're going to prove it. But then, that's the way I think. If they were going to go ahead and do a MyHop thing and they're going to engineer it, I don't know, if I was them, I'd be trying to do it in a way that couldn't be proven. I mean, you can have people speculate and get sort of blue in the face and so on, but I wouldn't be leaving a lot of proof laying out. So I'm not looking for proof myself. If I happen to find it, great, but all these arguments to have, this hardcore proof and it's all unraveled, it always doesn't feel right to me. I'm willing to take a look, but...
Well, that's the problem, Adam, because we don't expect you to find it, because you're really not conducting an investigation at all, even according to your own words, but we have, and we've provided you with the evidence. So not only have we provided it for you, and so you didn't have to try to find this proof, but it does exist, it's there, and yet you argue it against it voraciously on a daily basis.
Yeah, I do get into it a bit too much, I suppose. But, and it's not because I don't regret that at all because I'm wrong, just because it's taking up too much of my time. But it's just, I don't know, it's compelling. I just have to keep doing it. It's fascinating stuff.
Well, you made an interesting statement the other day when you said how you thought that you call us no-planers, of course, which is a false and an incorrect characterization, and to me it's a deliberate attempt to try to associate us with the lunatic theories of what people claim happened in New York. But you said that, hey, you thought the theories were dead until we came around, and all of a sudden you had to tackle it, is the way you put it.
And again, I wasn't even excited about it at first. I was like, something new, I thought it was, everything was being wrapped up, and I was just going to help explain, okay, and this is what happened, this is why we were wrong, I'm glad we're moving on, and that hasn't happened. And you guys the turf I had just basically scoped out, and I didn't just start, I've actually been looking into this since late 2004, early 2005, took a bit of a hiatus, started up my blog again late last year, and it was early this year that I heard about this video, and I thought, okay, geez, that's in my turf, I gotta check it out. And so, and then, I've been tentatively, like when I first wrote my piece, I was just writing stuff kind of off the top of my head, and it's not that any of the impressions I had were wrong or anything. It's just that I was taken by surprise that I'd have to deal with you guys personally, and I wasn't prepared to defend it all, 100%. That's why I took that down, is I just kind of was caught off guard. If I put it back up, I'd still feel pretty comfortable with most of what I said, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
But, what was my point? Oh, well. Anyway, yeah, so, I'm sorry. If you've got anything to say, go ahead. I've said my thing there.
Well, it's just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. So you're saying you restarted your blog again late last year. What month was that?
I think the first post I put back up was October. What's inspired me was I did a thing for the 5-year anniversary. I just wrote up a little thing for a friend's newspaper thing that they never wound up publishing. Just covering, that I had been a 9/11 investigator guy a little bit, and just writing that and going back over it, made me realize, I want to get back into that. And so the Pentagon angle was something I had looked into some, and there was some new evidence coming out at the time, and I thought it would be a good time to start getting back into that.
Interesting.
So that's
yeah, that's pretty interesting. Coincidentally, that was after we'd announced the North Side evidence, just after they had released the Sicko security video as a result of our announcement, and around the exact same time that Arabisk all of a sudden came on the scene as a prominent member of 911blogger.com. So, rather coincidental.
That might have been stuff I saw. Like in the early days, I wasn't paying attention to what websites were going off, who was saying what exactly. I was just kind of bouncing around and looking at stuff. And at that point, I was starting to dig into new stuff. And I might have seen you guys' stuff. I probably saw something about it. I wasn't really paying close attention. But it wasn't really an inspiration until after I had heard that the Pentagon was out, and I had to see it, and it was about witnesses, and that was really the first I knew anything about it. It was February, right?
Right.
So it's been a couple of days. So there's nothing. I didn't start out, to attack you guys, because I don't even think I was aware at all. If I was, it was marginally. So it just happened to line up that way. You guys released your video about the same time I started looking back into the stuff again, and since then that's been the bulk of what I've had to deal with.
Well, okay, back to the evidence. Another interesting factor in regards to the physical evidence, of course, is the notion that the plane came perfectly leveled out, allegedly, but you agree. There seems to be contradictory statements on your part, in the sense that you think the ASCE report is incorrect about the wing tilt, yet you also do seem to suggest that a wing tilt did exist.
Yeah. I think they're actually they're correct and incorrect. I think what it is they just didn't try to explain the complex dynamics of a crash where different parts are hitting at different times and position can change. Because the good evidence for left wing is the bend in column 9AA, and they don't reflect that. Their wingtip is low and their engine is underground, and there's no evidence the engine was underground at all. So that part's wrong. Yeah.
Well, but if the plane was tilted at all, the engine would have to at least be touching the ground.
It would. I think I haven't mapped this out 100% with I haven't gone back and redone a mapping with that. But from what it looks like to me is that the engine would be just about at ground level, like an inch or two above. Apparently, it wasn't. It wasn't scraping the lawn, but it did hit the fence structure. And that
we're talking in the building. What's the reaches of the building?
Yeah, and I think that there is that edge spot that was damaged. It looks to me like there's a concave spot that was it's below floor level, and it's not very big, and it looks to me like the engine is possibly already deflecting upwards when it hit that, and that's what cited and forced it up just a little bit. And then if it scraped the floor past that, it wouldn't have been a whole lot, and then that was covered with mud. So I think your case there remains pretty inconclusive as to whether or not there's foundation damage.
Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I haven't seen any images that depict any damage whatsoever in the foundation, and to suggest that it would be limited to the very, very front of the facade of the foundation, or there where the facade meets the foundation, seems to make no sense at all when considering the kinetic energy of a 90-ton jet traveling over 500 miles per hour.
Yeah, well, at that point, there was not much of a 90-ton jet left, because you've got a angle of impact. Right wing was gone. Half of the fuselage was already inside. The left wing may have been disconnected entirely and just flying on its own. An engine and a part of a wing. I don't know what exactly would have been left at that point. Half the plane is already gone. So, that changes the dynamic some. And I can see an engine and a chunk of a wing on its own deflecting upwards after hitting concrete, yeah.
No, I do agree that if the plane did hit the building, it would have to change direction and be more of random damage at that point. However, the physical damage depicts a perfect straight line leading all the way up to the strange C-ring alleged exit hole.
An overall straight line. There's going to be, it's breaking apart. Parts bouncing, this way, that way, but the general motion of it would be along the trajectory, and which it is. So, and I've never argued with you guys on that point. That's something. In fact, this is an interesting thing about this. Is through your investigation, a lot of stuff is coming to light where, you help demonstrate that the flight path, everything lines up. And that's interesting that we agree on that, but just for different reasons.
Well, we didn't do that. They have images in the ASCE report. Unless you didn't read the reports.
Just other 9/11 research, especially people who look at the Pentagon, they just Hushmid or Olmholt, or I don't know who exactly are the people that just kind of step back and say, oh, there's a little 18-foot hole, there's no plane parts, and that's like, I don't dig into it at all and look at the details and try to explain stuff. So I don't know, it's just an interesting thing. I admire that about you guys. I respect that. You got a lot of good photographs, a lot of good analysis, and things like that. It's all worth what it is, and I take it, I look at it. I will watch your white plane video too. I haven't got around to that.
And we've also provided for you location videos from our last trip on our new series, and this is important too as a resource, because as stated, it's people who haven't been there like yourself, and most of these alleged Pentagon researchers who haven't even bothered to go to the area and survey the topography and analyze the various point of views. Don't realize that there really aren't any. It's very difficult, and even at the Navy Annex, you can't see what's going on at the Pentagon, and none of the neighborhoods of Arlington along the flight path have a view of the Pentagon at all. And that literally you need to be at the CITGO station before you get a view, and that's why the eyewitness testimony at the CITGO station is so important.
Yeah, which is why it's weird that important testimony came out contradictory. I'll hand you that. It's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, bottom line, these guys really have the most important vantage point of the final moments of the flight path. Even the people on Route 27 really wouldn't be able to get a good handle on it because of the direction that the plane was headed and where it was coming from. Whereas the people at the CITGO station, as the plane flies right by them, And
but what about people that are right between the witnesses at the CITCO and the Pentagon? I mean, is there any reason why somebody right along that flight path, they wouldn't be able to see it very well?
What do you mean? There is nothing there. There's nothing there, but it's freeway.
There's Route 27 and cars on it. I'm saying, you said the Route 27 witnesses wouldn't be able to see anything. The CITCO people would. But I'm saying, I mean, it's right between the two, and there's no obstruction of view.
Well, no. I didn't say they wouldn't be able to see anything. What I said was that the witnesses at the CITCO station have the most significant vantage point of the flight path. When you're on Route 27, your perception of the plane approaching isn't going to be definitive to be able to tell exactly where it was, particularly in relation to the CITCO.
Mostly because you're in the car, and you can't see a full view. Yeah,
and the plane's coming, it's headed towards you, and it's moving so fast that, it would likely be right in front of you before anything. So, you're not in a good position to judge. The vantage point is in a good position to judge the flight path, whereas when you're at the CITCO station, because of where the plane flew, I mean, no one argues that the plane...
Relative to the CITCO, I agree, yeah, because you're at the CITCO, and you're standing there, and everybody knows their left from their right, and so on, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's virtually impossible to get to make that mistake. So it's quite interesting how you're willing to admit that as someone who refuses to accept this testimony as valid.
Well, it's not bad. I mean, it's the way that you guys spin it. That nobody, now you're saying every witness confirms the north path because, as you say, witnesses on Route 27 wouldn't be able to tell one way or the other. So now you're saying they'll confirm it.
No. I don't say they don't. I'm not saying they confirm the north path. I've never said that. What I'm saying is that
all witnesses saw. What all witnesses. I mean, I'd have to dig up the exact words you used, but you've gone as far as to say that's what all the witnesses saw.
No,
apparently, just based on the belief that that's what happened, and that therefore that's what they saw. Even if they say something like, like Terry Morin who said that he was standing outside the Navy Annex and it flew along the south edge, parallel to the south edge of the Annex, which puts it on a south flight path to hit the light poles.
Well, right, but that's assuming the trajectory is exact. I mean, even when going off of Edward Pake's account of the plane crossing over from the south side of Columbia Pike to the north side of Columbia Pike, passing over the Navy Annex, is totally reconcilable with Morin's account. Now, realize...
No, I disagree with that. You said that before. I mean, one is crossing cutting diagonally across the annex, and the other one is flying south along parallel to the south edge. Those are two totally different directions.
Right. Well, number one, Morin's account has not been confirmed. Let me see Morin draw the flight path as well. And if he draws it completely parallel, then that's another thing. As it stands, these are static words printed by the mainstream media. We've attempted to contact Morin, and he wouldn't clarify his account for us. So, it stands as that, as hearsay, until it's clarified. So there's no direct confirmation firsthand from witnesses that directly contradict Edward or any of the CITCO witnesses' claims, and that's the fact. Now, I'll even reveal to you here, the new witness that we have is a published account. One of the new Northside witnesses was Levi Stevens. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
He was in the south parking lot, leaving the south parking lot, facing towards the CITCO station, like on the off-ramp, about ready to take off. Mm-hmm. And that puts him directly in front of the bridge and the light poles, and very close to it. Okay? Now he states emphatically that the plane was on the Arlington Cemetery, complete other side of the CITCO station. So he's absolutely certain the plane was not directly in front of him.
Yeah, no, who does know, Levi Stevens, who does he work for again?
He was a courier for the Pentagon. So yeah, he's a simple courier. And he believes in the impact, but he wasn't facing the Pentagon. So he wouldn't have necessarily seen the plane enter the building. However, he's certain that the plane was on the Arlington Cemetery side of the gas station. Another thing he's certain about is that the plane did not look like an American Airlines jet.
Oh. Now, I'm curious, was he his angle of view, was he, he was south of the Pentagon, more or less. Would you say, was he, if you were heading south, was he kind of parallel with the edge of it, or was he past the edge, or was he still kind of, back in the parking lot, or was he forward from the parking lot? If he looked for his right shoulder, would he be able to see the face of the Pentagon?
Yes.
Okay.
He would have to turn. He would have to physically turn to see it. He was in front of the Pentagon. So he would be able to. Of course, the event would be so quick that to say that he absolutely caught it, I mean, you simply can't. And it doesn't matter, because the fact that he places it on the north side proves it can't be what made the physical damage. Plus, he double confirms that he did not see an American Airlines jet. Now, he doesn't call it white. He says it had a brown belly. But, yeah, which is quite odd. I forget, or tan. He describes it as tan belly. But he even on that day, he was mystified that they were calling it American Airlines. So that's compelling testimony as well. Now, one more reveal I'll give to you here, because I think at this point it doesn't. There's really not much else we can do. And now both of these accounts, what we have are Levi's scared. He's scared of his testimony. He's scared to provide it. So he gave it to us. He confirmed it. We're going to quote him, but we can't give release his direct testimony. He won't let us do that, unfortunately. But we will absolutely quote him and attribute him to his statements. Now, the other witness we have is probably the most compelling you can possibly imagine, and probably the only person who would have just as good of a vantage point as the Sitco witnesses without being at the Sitco station to be able to tell the flight path. Sean Boger. Do you know who he is?
No, it doesn't ring a bell, actually.
Yeah, boy, you need to do some more research, my friend. Sean Boger is the heliport tower.
Okay.
So he's working in the heliport tower. He sees the plane coming over the Navy Annex in a strong bank on the north side of the Sitco station.
Damn.
Yes.
That's some pretty, wow.
Yes.
I tell you, the Pentagon guys, they really got to start paying attention and keeping a tighter rein on people, because, I mean, this is going to blow everything up, huh?
Well, obviously, they've got their plans in motion. They don't even care at this point. I mean, people like us are ignored. We're blown away. I mean, people were deceived, and the ones, what can they do? Even the ones who have their questions, they're not talking. So the only testimony we're getting are from people who don't understand the implications of what they saw.
Yeah, that's how it have to be. I mean, and it's amazing that none of these people, and especially Legassi, after he's talked with these men and had his testimony used to imply a flyover for years now, has still just never put the two and two together.
He's in denial. He's in absolute denial. We've had conversations with him since, and he still refuses to accept that Pole 1 was knocked down at all.
Yeah.
He just won't accept it. He just refuses to analyze it or accept it. He had some discussions with us. We asked him to meet with us again. He's like, no, he can't do that. It's clear these people are scared. They're scared for their lives. They're scared for their livelihood. They just know that, hey, the more they uncover, the more they're going to find out, but they just better shut up and stop looking at it. And that's what we're getting. Anyone who's scared, I mean, people say, hey, you don't have any flyover witnesses. It's like, are you kidding? That's like somebody just coming out and saying, hey, I saw Bush pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I mean, it puts them in a position where it risks their lives if they're going to come out in public admitting that what they saw was a military deception. So, that's why we're not getting any flack.
Not say it.
What's that?
Out of a sense of patriotism, maybe, or something. Maybe if they saw flyover, they wouldn't play. Is that what you're saying? Or?
No, they're scared. They know if it was a deception. I mean, that's why we had. I mean, I don't know if you read the blog I wrote up about our trip this weekend, but we had a tour of the inside of the Pentagon.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we got
just requested that, and they said sure.
No, not even close. The rescue worker who supports our work and has questions of his own, who was there on the scene and saved many lives on that day, who wrote us the letter that we have posted on our the front page of our website.
Yeah, the red, white, and blue thing?
Yes. He's currently enlisted. He's a hero. He has a Purple Heart. He has he's publicized. He's a big part of the Pentagon's anti-terror campaign. Well, he supports our work, and he's not willing to admit his questions publicly. But he has them naturally, and he has full clearance to the Pentagon. He took us out to dinner Saturday night, brought us to the Pentagon late, around 11 o'clock. We got an after-hours tour with nobody in the halls, walked around the whole place.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's something not everybody gets to do. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. We had full visitor passes. We had to leave our cameras and video cameras and everything and cell phones in the car, naturally. But just
the film play these days. It's relevant to what happened. I mean, what are you going to do? Here's what they rebuilt after it got blown up. Yeah, so I guess you probably didn't miss much.
Well, exactly. We got to see it all. We walked through the A to E Drive, the courtyard. The memorial that they built inside the building is directly on where the alleged impact point was. So we went there, we signed the guest book, signed a CIT, and if you look outside the window there, you can actually see all the flight paths. So it was quite a moment for us. And, we know some people might say, hey, wow, what unprecedented access, but I'll tell you, that's really it. Somebody that has clearance, and they can get you in there. It's just an office building.
Yeah, it's a perk of getting out there and meeting people, I suppose.
Yes, so we were able to get in and see it, which was something else. So, bottom line, we're talking to people. Anyone we talk to, nobody's confirming that south flight path. Unless you're in a position to call us disinfo, it's going to be virtually impossible to deny the evidence that we're talking about here. Let me ask you about the C-ring exit hole real quick. Do you think that was a result of the plane, or do you think?
So?
Yeah.
After seeing that giant landing gear on the AE drive, whether it was there originally or brought out there, I'm thinking I've never been able to write that off completely. Like Pickering as not being from a plane. There's numerous oddities about it, but these are things I've never seen that kind of thing before. I don't know what it should look like.
So
I don't know, it could be a bomb.
Oh, okay. So you do still suggest that it's likely that perfectly round hole was created by a part of the plane?
Yeah, it's not perfectly round, but it's pretty close, oblong, and I don't know, it's the way bricks would shatter and fly out. I don't know, I'd have to look at it some more.
Okay. You'd have to look at it somewhere, okay. Wow, man, you're just about as wishy-washy on live debate as you are on the blogs.
That's how I think, man. I'm not like, 100% go get them kind of guy. I look at things and I think about the different possibilities, and that's, I'm not the truth movement. I'm one person in it, and that's my gift or whatever, for good or ill. That's what I share. That's what I do. So, I think about different possibilities, and I'm not a big believer in hard proof. If there is some, then there is, but I wouldn't expect much. So, again, this is amazing stuff. The magic of eyewitnesses, you guys keep getting them. They keep coming to you, and I'll have to just keep checking those out and see how many people are saying what, and start if it keeps lining up, maybe I'll have to be forced to concede that, yeah, they can fake all this stuff to me. I'm sure they could. I just don't see why they would. It's just that deception thing, and they just want to practice their mind control techniques. I don't know.
Well, that was an interesting statement. You said how you're not one for hard proof.
Well, if I see it, I see it. But I'm not one to say something's hard proof if I don't think it is. And so far, I haven't seen much. I've seen some strong circumstantial evidence about 9/11 in general, in the sense of who benefited. It's the same people that failed to stop it somehow. It's the same people that were in the position to possibly do it themselves. And again, they would probably, if they were smart, do it through ways that couldn't be proven. Because people, when they see proof, that's why people keep going for proof, is the whole smoking gun thing. It's undeniable. It's proof. And if you could find that would be great. So if I were them, I would be doing it in a way where you couldn't find the proof. Just do, fly planes in, remote control, do explosives in a way that's really sneaky, to where you just do a minimal amount in a way that doesn't look like a controlled demolition. And then, people can't just turn on the video and go, there you go, you can see it.
Well, sure, but you're not them, and also there's a big factor when you're talking about an operation of deception of this magnitude, a simple psychological effect that has been known for quite some time and was popularized, or made known rather, by Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf. You must be familiar with the big lie syndrome.
Yeah, the big lie. Yeah, the bigger it is, the more people won't want to see it. That's true. And I think that applies to big lies. And as far as I'm concerned, 9/11 is there's definitely some kind of a big lie with it.
Well, it's the biggest lie there could possibly be. So naturally, they knew they had that working for them. So minor anomalies and things like an undamaged hood on a cab driver who nobody would accuse of being complicit in this crime anyway, are things that naturally they weren't concerned about. You can see that, right?
I tell you what, man. I think actually, let me see. Let's Oh shit! My Discord just ran out, so I'm not even recording now. And in fact, I should probably get wrapped up and start getting ready to go to work soon.
Oh yeah, you going to the call center or the janitor job?
Janitor job. I do call centers Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, what do you sell?
Don't sell anything. We do surveys. I have to tell people all the time that we're not selling anything.
Yeah, you married?
No, got a girlfriend though.
Got a girlfriend? You live with her?
Yeah, we might get married next year.
Good for
How
you.
about you?
Yeah, I live with my girlfriend.
What do you do for a living?
Although and I work for a software company.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Right on. You do like development or like sales or what?
Sales.
Right on. Yeah, I don't sell anything. I'm not very good at it.
That's for
I'm
sure.
not a good salesman. But people don't believe me. But anyway, so yeah. Do you want anything you want to wrap up with or anything?
No, Adam, I think we pretty much covered the bases here. I appreciate your willingness to get on the phone and let us hear your voice and address some of these questions direct, man, because, most of your cohorts sure aren't willing to do it.
Yeah, I don't know why. They got their reasons. And I was reluctant myself. But, again, there's not much reason probably, and I don't suspect you guys are going to just be childish and call prank me and all that kind of stuff. And even if you did, I could just hang up, So, yeah, nothing to be worried about, nothing to be afraid of, just a little bit of time, and it could be quite constructive. So, wish I'd been able to get the whole thing.
Oh, don't worry, I've got it all, so I'll make sure it gets posted for you.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I'll just have the crap version that has the end cut off, because I'm just, untechnical like that. But, I don't know, I guess we're just going to probably kind of keep doing what we do, at least until I decide that I can't justify the time anymore, or until I change my mind. It doesn't seem like you're going to be changing your mind, so...
Well, we have proof, so there's no way to do that. But I'm quite certain that if you're a legitimate, honest individual seeking truth, that you will change your mind, because the evidence we have is absolutely conclusive and getting stronger by the day. I mean, where do you see this testimony from the charter boat captain? It's absolutely incredible. It's going to blow your mind and challenge all of your beliefs 100%. And not to mention the Keith Wheelhouse testimony. I mean, this really shows you how far they've actually gone to put out cover stories. So there's a lot more from CIT coming, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it is incredible. I've seen a lot of incredible things coming out of you guys' rear end. So, and again, remembering the dual meaning of incredible. But I guess that's about it for now.
All right, Adam. Take care, man.
All right, take it easy. And it's too bad, we had to become enemies, I guess, on this front here, because it seems like we could probably get along okay otherwise.
I think so.
But then we wouldn't at each other anyway, so.
I think so. We'll see how close you are. You move towards logic and reason instead of pushing yourself away towards conspiracy theories that even yourself find hard to believe.
Yeah, well, there's something weird going on one way or the other, and I'm just trying to look for what fits everything. So just be patient with me if I'm not getting it. There's a lot to go on. I mean, I'm struggling with a lot of alleged fakery, a lot of things, a lot of points that have to be mangled. It's a lot to swallow. So be patient.
Okay, fair enough, Adam.
All right. Well, you take it easy, Craig.
All right, peace out.
Okay, peace.